Hey, what's going on, guys? Rust Console Edition just got a follow-up hotfix. The first thing that stands out is the server-side work. They added extra checks to improve connection reliability, and that is one of those fixes that does not sound exciting at first, but it matters a lot in practice. Rust is already the kind of game where you do not want to be fighting the menu more than the map. And if a server is acting weird or load is causing connection issues, that turns into a bad first impression fast. So getting that steadied out is a pretty big deal, even if it is not the kind of thing you notice in a flashy way. The other big thing in this hotfix is the skin store cleanup. If you were flipping back and forth between the skin store and the main menu too quickly, the game could show white boxes or incomplete store content, which is exactly the sort of weird menu bug that makes a game feel messy for no real reason. That got fixed here, along with the issue where the store could still show the old layout after retrying to load the new one. It is a small quality fix on the surface, but for anyone who spends time checking skins or just moving around the menu a lot, it makes the whole thing feel more stable and less janky. Then there is the underwear customization bug, which is one of those little details that sounds funny until it happens to you. Before this patch, the game was not always saving the selected underwear correctly after a restart or after joining a new server. That is not a headline feature, obviously, but it is exactly the kind of thing that can break immersion in a game where your character setup is part of the whole experience. So that fix is nice to see, and it is the sort of polish work that tells you the team is going through the annoying little leftover problems one by one. The inbox issue was another good catch. If players opened an empty inbox, they could get locked out of other options in the main menu, which is the kind of bug that feels way worse than it sounds because now the menu itself is getting in your way. On top of that, there was also a crash tied to opening the inbox and hitting play rust from the main menu. And that is the kind of thing nobody wants to deal with right after booting up the game. Those two fixes alone probably saved a lot of people from random frustration because nothing kills the mood faster than a menu that freezes you out or throws you back to the dashboard for no good reason. Now, looking back at the bigger update that this hotfix is attached to, there was actually a lot going on under the hood there too. The main focus was on performance, stability, and a bunch of gameplay cleanup. Bases with multiple tool cupboards were getting some performance improvements, which is great because large builds can already be heavy on the system. Satchel charge damage was also balanced, so it does less damage to vehicles, and that changes how some raid pressure plays out. They also improved diving mask visibility underwater, added new loading screens, and added new main menu videos, so it was not just bug fixing, it was also a bit of presentation polish. There were some pretty important gameplay fixes in that bigger update too. Players no longer get culled on the cargo ship because of server-side checks, and servers were also less likely to refuse connections under high load. They cleaned up a soft lock that could happen when dying while the on-screen keyboard was active, stopped players from destroying deployables by clipping a vehicle through walls, and closed off the weird exploit where explosives could be pushed through walls using a tricycle or sidecar motorcycle. SAM sites were also adjusted so they would not open fire at grounded air vehicles anymore, which is exactly the kind of edge case that can turn into a headache if left alone. On top of that, a bunch of building and UI stuff got tightened up. Weapon stats between the inventory and crafting interface were synced. The minicopter fuel gauge now updates properly while flying, and several deployables like test generators, salvaged shelves, mixing tables, tool cupboards, high external walls, high external gates, and planter boxes snap into place the way they should. The skin store was also made faster and smoother when cycling through tabs, and there were fixes for things like the bucket lift in the caves, dropping players, corpse bags behaving oddly on that lift, and a handful of title crashes. So between the bigger update and this rapid hotfix, the general theme is pretty clear. It is a lot of cleanup, a lot of stability work, and a few quality of life changes that make the whole experience feel less clunky from the moment you load in. And that is really the best way to look at this patch cycle. It is not trying to reinvent the game or throw in some giant new feature that changes everything overnight. It is doing the quieter work that keeps Rust feeling playable, especially on console where menu bugs, server issues, and random crashes stand out even more. If you play regularly, this is the kind of update that matters because it clears out all the little stuff that adds up over time. And once those things are gone, the whole game just feels easier to get into and less annoying to stay in.